Last Tuesday at 11:47 p.m., my phone buzzed with a text that made my blood run cold. "Hey, can we talk? I owe you an apology." It was from Marcus, my ex-fiancé of 3 years. We'd been broken up for 8 months, and I thought I'd moved on. I was wrong. The backstory is messy, but here's the short version. Marcus had been cheating on me for the last 6 months of our relationship with his work friend Jessica. I found out 2 weeks before our wedding when Jessica's husband called me, sobbing, asking if I knew about their affair. Our wedding invitations had already been sent. The venue was paid for. My dress was hanging in our closet. When I confronted Marcus that night, his exact words were, "It's not what you think." Jessica was going through a divorce and needed emotional support. If you weren't always so busy with wedding planning, maybe I wouldn't have had to find comfort elsewhere. Even in that moment, he made it my fault. I called off the wedding, moved out of our shared apartment, and went no contact. For 8 months, I rebuilt myself from scratch. Got a new apartment, started therapy, began dating again. I thought I was healing. Then came that text. Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet him at Café Luna, the place where we had our first date 4 years ago. He looked different, thinner, tired, like he hadn't been sleeping. But his smile was the same. That charming, disarming smile that had gotten me into this mess in the first place. "Thank you for coming," he said, ordering my usual vanilla latte without asking. "I know I don't deserve your time." I sat across from him, arms crossed, waiting. "I've been doing a lot of thinking since we broke up," he began. "And I want to apologize. What happened between Jessica and me? It was wrong. I'm sorry. I waited for more. That was it. 10 words. 4 years of my life, 6 months of betrayal, the humiliation of canceling a wedding, reduced to 10 words. That's your apology?" I asked. "I know it can't fix everything, but I needed you to know that I regret how things ended." Notice what he didn't say. He didn't regret the affair. He regretted how things ended. As if our breakup was some unfortunate misunderstanding rather than the direct consequence of his choices. "Marcus, do you even understand what you did to me?" He looked genuinely confused. "Of course I do. I hurt you. That's why I'm apologizing." "How did you hurt me? Be specific." I cheated. And that was wrong." "What else?" Long pause. I'm not sure what you want me to say." That's when it hit me. He had no idea. 8 months later, and he still had no clue about the specific ways his actions had devastated me. "Marcus, you didn't just cheat. You lied to my face for 6 months. You made me feel crazy when I asked about Jessica. You had me planning our wedding while you were sleeping with someone else. You made me question my own sanity when I noticed you were distant. You let me send invitations to a wedding you knew might not happen. You destroyed my ability to trust my own instincts." He blinked, processing. "I didn't realize you saw it that way. How else would I see it?" I thought. The cheating was the main issue. I figured if I apologized for that, we could maybe what? Maybe try again. "I miss you, Chloe. Jessica and I didn't work out. She went back to her husband. And I realized what I lost." There it was. The real reason for his apology. Not genuine remorse, but loneliness. Not accountability, but manipulation. He wasn't sorry for what he'd done to me, he was sorry for the consequences he was facing. "So you're apologizing because you want me back, not because you understand the harm you caused." That's not. Yes, I'd love another chance, but I genuinely feel bad about what happened. "What happened?" "Marcus, you keep talking about it like it was some accident. Like you tripped and fell into a 6-month affair." His jaw tightened. "Look," I said, "I was sorry. What more do you want from me?" And there it was, the anger that always lurked beneath his charm. The entitlement that said his apology should be enough, regardless of its quality or sincerity. I want you to understand what you did. I want you to acknowledge that you made calculated choices to deceive me for months. I want you to recognize that you didn't just break my heart, you broke my ability to trust myself. I can't change the past, Chloe. I'm not asking you to. I'm asking you to understand it. I do understand it. Then tell me, how do you think I felt the morning I found out about Jessica? Another long pause. Hurt? How do you think I felt calling 150 wedding guests to cancel? Embarrassed? How do you think I felt when I realized that every late night at work for 6 months had been a lie? I don't know. Bad? His vocabulary for my pain was that of a child's. Hurt? Embarrassed? Bad? He couldn't articulate the devastation because he'd never truly considered it. That's when I realized something profound. Marcus wasn't capable of giving me the apology I needed because he wasn't capable of understanding the harm he'd caused. His apology felt hollow because it was hollow. It had no substance because his understanding had no depth. Marcus, when you apologized, you said you were sorry for what happened between you and Jessica. But that's not what you should be sorry for. What should I be sorry for? You should be sorry for lying to me every single day for 6 months. For making me feel paranoid and insecure when I was actually right to be suspicious. For risking my sexual health by sleeping with someone else without my knowledge. For letting me spend thousands of dollars in emotional energy planning a wedding while you were actively betraying our relationship. For making me doubt my own intuition so thoroughly that I still second-guess myself in my new relationship. He stared at me, and for a moment, I thought maybe he was finally getting it. I guess I didn't think about it from your perspective, he said finally. That's the problem, Marcus. You never did. The conversation continued for another hour, but it was more of the same. Every time I explained a specific harm, he'd offer a generic "I'm sorry you feel that way." Every time I asked him to acknowledge his intentional deception, he'd minimize it as mistakes or bad judgment. The most infuriating part was when he said, "I think you're overcomplicating this. I cheated," I said, "I'm sorry, and I want to make it up to you. Can't we just move forward?" That's when I understood why his apology felt so empty. He wanted forgiveness without accountability. He wanted reconciliation without reparations. He wanted to move forward without ever really looking backward. A real apology would have sounded like this: "Chloe, I lied to you every day for 6 months. I made deliberate choices to deceive you while you were planning our future together. I gaslit you when you questioned my behavior, making you doubt your own instincts. I put your health at risk and humiliated you publicly by letting you send wedding invitations for a marriage I was actively sabotaging. I understand that my actions didn't just hurt you in that moment, they've damaged your ability to trust yourself and others. I take full responsibility for these choices, and I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know that I finally understand the scope of what I did." But Marcus couldn't give me that apology because giving it would require him to fully face what he'd done. And people who are capable of 6 months of calculated deception are rarely capable of that level of self-reflection. As I walked to my car that night, I felt something unexpected: relief. Not because we'd reconciled, but because his hollow apology had given me a gift I didn't know I needed. It showed me that my healing couldn't depend on his understanding. His inability to truly apologize wasn't a reflection of my worth, it was a reflection of his limitations. I'd been carrying this fantasy that someday he'd come back with a perfect apology that would make everything make sense. That he'd show up with the emotional intelligence to fully understand and acknowledge what he'd done. That his words would somehow retroactively heal the trauma he'd caused. but seeing him struggle to articulate even basic empathy made me realize that some people simply don't have the capacity for the kind of accountability that real healing requires. And that's okay. My healing doesn't require his understanding. The hollow apology was actually the closure I needed, not because it healed anything, but because it showed me that healing was something I had to do independently of him. 3 days later, Marcus texted again, "I don't understand why you're making this so complicated." I said I was sorry. "What more do you want?" I didn't respond. Because I finally understood that what I wanted, genuine accountability, true empathy, real understanding, wasn't something he could give. And that was the most liberating realization of all. So here's my question: have you ever received an apology that felt worse than no apology at all? How do you handle someone who thinks saying sorry is the same as understanding the harm they caused? And is it wrong to want more from an apology than just the word itself?